Okay, this is Tom Good with NLN. I'm talking to Pat Korte. Pat's a student organizer at the new school, and he was involved in the recent student takeover of the building on Fifth Avenue there. So, Pat, welcome, and have a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Okay. Can you tell me what prompted the student occupation of the graduate facility?
Well, there are a number of events leading up to the occupation. So before discussing the specific events that sparked the occupation and how that happened, it's important to review the events leading up to it. And that included several things, including the faculty Senate voting no confidence in President Kerrey and Vice President Murtha, then voting full confidence in the deans and demanding that Kerrey step down from the position of provost and that he no longer assume the responsibilities of academic planning. Our provost, Joe Westfall, left several weeks ago, and as a result, Kerrey took over the position of provost, which was perceived by students, faculty, and administrators to be a very bad move and to be a move that was harmful to the management of the university. So the faculty, on the morning of the same day that we had a demonstration demanding the resignation of our university's treasurer, Robert B. Millard, faculty voted for no confidence in Kerrey, no confidence in Murtha, and full confidence in the deans the morning of this demonstration that we had. So the faculty no confidence vote was one of the events that sparked further student interest and eventually student action in regards to the management of the institution. There are other important events as well, including specifically the radical student unions organizing against L3 Communications, which is a military contractor employed in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they provide translators, interrogators, and militias, mercenary forces, for the U.S. occupations. And the chairman of L3 Communications is Robert B. Millard, who is the treasurer of the new school's board of trustees. He's also the former managing director of Lehman Brothers. So we were doing organizing against L3 and demanding Millard's resignation and the disclosure of our university's financial investments and the implementation of a socially responsible investments policy. So that was another key event leading up to the student occupation. Another important event was and this is connected to actually a much more long or prolonged problem within the university, but that problem is the lack of sufficient study space, in particular the lack of sufficient study space for graduate students. And there were other problems regarding TA-RA wages and a lot of the problems that the New School for Social Research students were having with the administration in terms of their failure to accommodate the needs of graduate students at the university. And a lot of the problems that the graduate students were facing were, also affected undergraduates in an equal way, in that, generally speaking, both graduate and undergraduate students lacked sufficient space, both academic space and social space, namely because we don't have a campus, we don't even really have any center of the university where students can socialize, and the university has failed to provide the space or resources for that. And then there's the larger problems of the university's bureaucracy, the university's just poor decision making, and general no confidence in the upper levels of the administration and their capacity to move this university in the direction that these students and faculty want to see it move.
Well,
so these are some of the core events.
Right. Thank you for the rundown. And I'm familiar with the issues with Bob Kerrey, his impulsivity, his autocratic style, and appointing himself provost. And I'm also familiar with the L3 connection to Millard. But what is the student issue with Mr. Murtha?
Well, from what we know regarding Murtha's role within the institution, it's the opinion of many students and faculty that Murtha is one of the core executive figures within the institution. But though Kerrey makes quite a few rash decisions, Murtha is actually the one calling a lot of the shots within the institution. In particular, an example of this was during the occupation, which was Murtha who called in the police and made some rash decisions regarding how to handle the situation of the student occupation, which to us was only more revealing of how inadequate our administration was. So, in terms of the student problems with Murtha, it's connected with Kerrey, namely the corporate, the push for further corporatization of our university, the push for larger capital improvements of the institution when students lack adequate funds for scholarships, and as tuition is rising, when what we really need is tuition reduction. And so the problems with Murtha are similar to Kerrey, and essentially it would be wrong to place all the blame for the university's problems just on Kerrey's back, when the reality is it's Kerrey, Murtha, and several other members of the administration, though Kerrey and Murtha are the leading figures.
Fascinating. I suppose if we were to engage in an analogy, he would be Dick Cheney to Kerrey's W.
Absolutely. And that analogy has been made before, both by students, faculty, and the press.
Excellent. Okay. Talking about the students, can you tell me what student organizations were involved in this?
Absolutely. There were several groups in particular that were present during the occupation, and no specific organization was responsible for the organizing of the occupation. That should be made clear, but there were several groups involved, namely the Low Income Students Alliance, the Radical Student Union, and the Women of Color organization were all present at the occupation. There may be other groups that I'm leaving out, but I'm again recalling who I personally worked with and who I saw taking on responsibilities within the occupation. There's a lot of individuals who share, to varying degrees, share the goals and values of these different groups, but a lot of individuals unaffiliated with any organization who also played an important role in the occupation.